Yeah, this is the Fantasy Blitz Show, and you already know we are back again with another episode for y'all. Today, I'm going to give you guys a few takes that I saw of the Week 1 preseason. Now, don't overreact. Some of it is good, some of it is bad, but at the same time, it could all mean nothing because it is only preseason. So with all that said, let's get in. All right, first up, we got my boys, the Jets versus Carolina. Jets beat them 27-0. Once again, don't mind all the scorings because it is only preseason. But here's my first take of that game, all right? Bryce Young, his performance was a little underwhelming, I'm not going to lie. But he did look cool, calm, and collected in the pocket, even though he did take a few shots from my boys on defense. One thing that I kind of was hoping to see was his mobility. You know, a guy of his size, 5'10", 204 pounds. I would have thought that maybe, you know, pockets collapsing, trying to avoid a sack. Maybe he'd use his legs more. But we didn't really see that. Once again, I think he only played maybe 1 or 2 drives, so we didn't see so much of him. So it was a small sample size. So once again, it is only preseason. Hopefully we see him again before the regular season starts, but who knows. Another take, I'm a little confused. Alan Lazard played a few snaps, but Corey Davis didn't. Does that mean Corey Davis is wide receiver 2? That's why he's not playing with the starters? I don't get it. I mean, Alan Lazard coming in from Green Bay, and Aaron Rodgers wanted him, and he's not at least a wide receiver 2? That's a little confusing to me. I mean, is that something we should be concerned about? I don't think so. Maybe it's just, like I said, a little overreaction, but that's definitely something I've got to keep my eye on. And lastly, I don't know how many of those starters on the O-line that Carolina played, but that O-line looked horrendous. Another reason why I said Bryce Young was taking shots, I was hoping to see more mobility out of him because that line was just collapsing every play. If they don't fix that, he could probably get sacked a lot of times this season, and we don't want to see that. And for this next game, we got Houston versus New England. All right, the score of that was 20-9. Houston, once again, fuck the scoring. Also, I want you guys to keep in mind, I'm only going over a few games that caught my eye. I'm not going through every single game. So first take from that game, C.J. Stroud. He definitely struggled. He had 2 of 4 completions for 13 yards and an interception. I didn't really see any composure coming out of him. And I definitely seen him holding the ball too long. It made it too easy for the defense to get to him or have him have to use his legs. So hopefully that changes. Next take, Bailey Zappi. He looked good, but I'm not going to lie. I am a fan of this guy, Malik Cunningham, all right? He's flashy. He could give New England a new look at the quarterback position. You know, they like to stick with their white guys in pocket play. Why not try to change it up? Because the NFL is evolving. Maybe you should, Bill Belichick. I hate the Patriots, so fuck it, stick with Mac Jones. But if they wanted to be a bigger threat on offense, maybe they got to change up with the times and go with that black or mobile QB. I don't know, just saying, because their offense is a bit boring. I'm not going to lie. Unless they're playing a big team, I don't really care to watch their games, and that's not me being biased. It's more of that game is boring. If you're telling me it's New England versus Carolina, I'm not watching that game. My last take from this game is about my boy, my sleeper pick, Tank Dell. He showed that he can make some noise in this league, honestly. He had 8 targets, 5 catches, 65 yards, and a touchdown on that Houston team, which is still young, obviously. But maybe later down the line during the season, maybe we might see flashes of him where he may get a 100-yard game or maybe even score twice in one game. So as a sleeper, I like that. He costs you nothing in redraft leagues. So why not take a chance on Tank Dell? Next game, we got Minnesota versus Seattle. All right. 13-24. Seattle won that game. My first take of that game would be Ty Chandler. He's looking like the RB2. I know they had this other guy. I can't even pronounce his name, honestly, so I'm not even going to try to attempt that. But Ty Chandler looked good. He should be the RB2 behind Madison, unless they decide to go out and get a veteran running back like Kareem Hunt or Leonard Fournette. But until then, I think Ty Chandler should be that RB2. He played a well-balanced game, honestly. He had 11 touches for 41 yards, and he had 4 targets, caught all 4 of them for 55 yards. So he was a big part in the passing game and could also run the ball. So keep an eye on Ty Chandler in case Alex Madison ever goes down. My second take of this game is Jordan Addison. In my opinion, he's the clear-cut wide receiver too. He didn't do nothing crazy on his stats, but he had a pass that was ruled incomplete on the sideline. But to me, it looked like he caught it toe drag and everything, and they called it incomplete as preseason. So I don't know if those are the kind of things that you can review for a preseason game, or even if it's worth the time, honestly. But that play should have been a catch. He showed a lot of good things to me. He was a great route runner, and he had great body control to even have that control to drag his feet along with catch the ball, which once again ruled incomplete. Fuck him, that shit was completed. And my last take of this game is JSN, Jackson Smith Njigba. He was out there moving, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of those over the middle passes looked like he was wide open, so separation isn't going to be a problem for him. He had 4 targets, caught 3 of them for 25 yards, so nothing big. It is only a small sample size. But he looked faster than anyone on that field, honestly. Even the defenses couldn't even read him. And even with a crowded wide receiver role, I still see that they're probably going to use him a lot. And his ADP may be a little too high, because I'm seeing him around, like, round 7-ish, maybe even 6 or 8. I know that's not horrible, but for a guy in a crowded wide receiver core, I don't know if that's worth it. But if he fell to me in the 9th, I'm taking him, no questions asked. Next game, we got the Giants versus Detroit Lions. The ending score of that was 16-21 Detroit. My first take of this game got to be Jahmyr Gibbs, because he was the main reason why I was watching this game. He didn't have a flashy game, which was kind of disappointing, but I'm trying to see his role in this offense. I'm trying to see if he's going to get some touches on the ground rather than him just being the passing down back. I know David Montgomery is probably going to vulture a lot of those goal line carries, but Jahmyr Gibbs, if he could break one loose, he could make some noise and grab a couple touchdowns himself. Because of this, I see him maybe dropping a little bit in ADP. Right now, I've been seeing him going a lot in the 3rd round. Maybe now he might drop to early to mid 4th round. So keep an eye on that. My next take of this is Jameson Williams. He saw a lot of snaps. Granted, it's preseason, so you would be like, why would a guy of his caliber be playing all those snaps in preseason? Don't forget, he is suspended for the first 6 weeks, so they're trying to get him acclimated with this offense as fast as possible. So when he gets back within those 6 weeks, he should be on the same page with everybody. He actually showed a lot of promise that game. He was targeted 7 times. Granted, he only caught 2 of them for 18 yards. But this is something that I'm definitely looking forward to see. And now that I heard that he's hurt, I mean, he still has those 6 weeks. So hopefully those 6 weeks he's completely 100% and comes back and makes some noise on this Detroit Lions offense. My last take is Sam Laporta. He is the clear tight end number 1. Obviously, they got rid of Hawkinson last season, so they were looking for a tight end. And I think Sam Laporta is that guy. He saw over 90% of the snaps with the starters, so that's only great things. Granted, he was only targeted once, didn't catch it, but it still leads me to think that he's going to get more targets eventually down the line, but they don't want to show it right away in preseason. And for the next game, we got Pittsburgh versus Tampa Bay. Score was 27-17 Pittsburgh. My first take is, are we actually seeing improvement from Kenny Pickett? He had a pretty decent game, 6 of 7 completions, 70 yards, and a touchdown. It was a nice 33-yard pass to George Pickens, which is going to be one of my picks definitely this year. I already knew he had a strong arm, but his QB IQ, though, looked on point. Granted, like I said, it is preseason, so it is what it is. And we don't know if that's going to translate into the season, but as long as we see some type of improvement, there's no doubt in my mind that Kenny Pickett could be a top 15 quarterback this season. My second take is Jalen Warren. Najee Harris has been proven that he can't stay efficient. That's the word I'm looking for. Because with all the opportunities he's had, he still can't maintain a RB1, high-end RB1 status with all those touches, which he should be a high-end RB1. So right now makes him maybe mid-tier RB2, maybe high-tier RB2. But Jalen Warren saw more snaps than Najee Harris, honestly. And that's with the starters, and it is a small sample size, but Jalen Warren getting that many snaps, especially over Najee, you might be onto something here. And it also leads me to think he could take away a lot of these touches from Najee in the regular season. Honestly, if you're seeing how Najee Harris is inefficient with his plays, maybe you need to switch roles around, or give it the hot hand to Jalen Warren, and maybe Najee breaks one loose eventually. But Jalen Warren is gonna have a good, decent size of work in that backfield. So Najee Harris is definitely probably a fade for me. And my last takeaway from this game, it's not too much I can really take away from Tampa Bay. They didn't really play their starters. They did have Baker Mayfield playing, and one take I can see is that he's going to be the QB1. Kyle Trask, you're out of there. Baker actually looked pretty good. His game, he had 8 of 9 completions, 63 yards and a touchdown, versus Kyle Trask, who was 6 and 10 in completions, 99 yards and an interception. So it's safe to say Baker Mayfield is definitely going to be QB1. Next game, we got Green Bay versus Cincinnati. Score was 36-19 in that one in favor of Green Bay. My biggest take is that Green Bay offense. They looked good. Jordan Love was so calm and cool and was just moving that ball. This offense may be underrated, honestly, and a surprise to all of us at the end of the season. So if you're aboard the Green Bay offense like I am, I think I'm getting plenty of shares of Jordan Love, of Christian Watson, Aaron Jones, even Luke Musgrave, honestly. Once again, Jordan Love looking great out there. I think I'd probably be happy with him as my QB2, especially in the Superflex League. My next take from this game is that we got to look at what the starting lineup is going to be for the Green Bay Packers. You already know Jordan Love is their QB. Then you got Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, and then Luke Musgrave at tight end. That looks pretty good to me. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if I see rises in all their ADPs, especially Luke Musgrave, because a lot of drafts he's not even getting drafted. Maybe now people spending that round 16th, round 18th pick on Luke Musgrave. And on the Cincinnati side of the ball, honestly, there's not too much to take away. The one thing I was keeping my eye on was Chase Brown. A lot of people are like, oh, Chris Evans. I like Chase Brown better. He did see a lot of opportunity. Granted, he wasn't all that efficient, but he could be a deep sleeper for redrafts, even best ball. Next game, we got Chicago versus Tennessee. Score was 23-17. And in favor of Chicago. Oh, Chicago looked fuego, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Them boys was balling. Fields looked like he was on his way to be the QB1 of the league this season. He's on his way to QB eliteness on top of that. So I need to hop on this Justin Fields bandwagon. Honestly, I was off him the past 2 years, but this year I gotta say I need a piece of Justin Fields. On his one drive in the game, he went 3 for 3, okay? 129 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's all he needed to do to score 2 touchdowns? Sheesh. And yeah, it's going against, second stringers, third stringers. But on that first drive, maybe they had a couple starters in. I'm not going to lie. Another take is Khalil Herbert and DJ Moore. Mainly Khalil Herbert, honestly. He's clear RB1. And to be honest, I like Rashawn Johnson also. So I'm not going to lie, I'm probably going to handcuff these two in every draft that I can. because Khalil Herbert looks like a beast, especially going to be a beast in the PPR aspect, catching balls out of the backfield. And Roshan, you never know, in case something happens to Herbert, Roshan might take over and take that job for himself. And the only thing I can really take away from Tennessee in this game is that they looked a mess. Yeah, they didn't have any starters in, but the only take I see was Tyjae Spears is the RB2 behind Derrick Henry. Did he look great? Not so much, but he didn't look bad. But that's a big shoe to fill behind Derrick Henry. So, Spears, good luck to you. And for the next game, we've got the Colts versus the Buffalo Bills. Score was 19-23 in favor of Buffalo. With the news of Anthony Richardson being the QB1 and seeing what I saw for that game, I'm not impressed. I think I'm not spending any draft capital on him. And I think he pretty much scared me away from Michael Pittman. I think I'm off of Michael Pittman this year. I was a big fan of him last year, hoping that he'd break out. He didn't due to the sucky QB play of Matt Ryan. But I think I'm going to stay away from this Colts offense all completely. And not too much to say about this game. This game was kind of boring to me. And the only takeaway from Buffalo's side is James Cook should probably move up in ADP soon. We all see that he's going to take majority of the load in the backfield. So James Cook's definitely moving up in my rankings. And for this next game, we got Jacksonville versus Dallas. Score was 28-23 in favor of Jacksonville. Biggest takeaway I'm going to have with this game is I'm all in on Jacksonville offense. All in. Whoever is available on that offense for me in my draft at a reasonable asking price, I am taking shares. I'm taking shares of Calvin Ridley. I'm taking shares of Trevor Lawrence. I'm taking shares of ETN, even though we don't know what's going on in the backfield with him and Tanks Bigsby. But give me some Tanks Bigsby as also. Give me Christian Kirk. Give me Zay Jones. Hell, give me Evan Ingram, which I'm actually high on. And I'll probably skip all those high-end tight ends or more expensive tight ends to get Evan Ingram in the 10th, 12th round. Also, Trevor Lawrence did his thing, all right? He was 5 of 6 in completions, had 36 yards and a touchdown right to Christian Kirk in the back of the end zone. Only thing I can say I'm worried about is Travis Etienne, which I just said. His usage is going to be a flip-flop for me because what we saw during this game, he was taken off the field during red zone plays and third down plays. What does that mean? Does that mean he's not going to see any receiving part of his game anymore? Does that mean in the red zone they're giving it to Tanks Bigsby at the goal line? I don't know, but ETN kind of shaky, but hell, I'm still taking shares of him. On the Dallas side of things, Jake Ferguson is climbing up my tight end rankings. Obviously, they got rid of Dalton Schultz, and we were wondering who was going to be that tight end one over there, and it looks like it's Jake Ferguson. Boy's got hands. I think he will definitely fill that Dalton Schultz role a lot better, if not just as much as Schultz. And my last take is, what the deuce? Deuce Vaughn is out there killing people. I'm thinking he's going to be more of just a gadget player, maybe special teams. But they gave him the ball behind in the backfield. So could we see him being RB2 or RB3? We'll have to see. Our next game, we've got the Los Angeles Chargers versus the Los Angeles Rams. Score was 34-17. In favor of the Chargers. Not a lot to take away from this one, honestly. But Quentin Johnson, who I guess I still like. I was going to say did, but I still like him. Didn't have a great game. I think he dropped the ball 3-4 times. It was way too many times. I just see it as more of growing pains. A lot of rookies dealt with it. Even what's his name, Jamar Chase, who is getting drafted as the wide receiver 2 or 3 this year, saw a lot of drops in his rookie training camp. So I think this is something not to get too riled up on. Just something easy. Yeah, it's growing pains. Yeah, he's a rookie, but I guarantee you he's gonna get there eventually. On the Rams side, Stetson Bennett, that's my guy. I liked him coming out of Georgia. I know he got drafted late, but I think this boy could do something, especially with this Rams offense that we don't know what Stafford's going to look like this year. We don't know if Cooper Kupp's going to be 100% right away. But I think Bennett is the future for LA Rams, and I'm pretty sure McVay probably sees that as well. And trust and believe, if Matt Stafford gets hurt. Bennett is coming in. I ain't picking him off of waiver wires like that. The second I hear Stafford is not coming back, whoop, Bennett scoop. For our next game, we got Kansas City at New Orleans, all right? Score was 24-26. New Orleans, I think Derek Carr's getting slept on in drafts. There's guys going ahead of him like Daniel Jones, Geno Smith, and I think Derek Carr this year is probably in the greatest offense he's ever been in. Vegas offense last year was good. You had Josh Jacobs who broke out. You had Avante Adams there. But as a whole, Vegas wasn't all there. New Orleans, I feel like they're just a quarterback away with their weapons of Chris Olave and Michael Thomas. I say that with air quotes because is he ever going to be 100%? For all we know, we saw him play this preseason and actually look good, but all we know, next week we'll hear him get hurt and he's out for another 6 weeks. Yeah, I don't know about him, but that offense is still good. Kamara serving that 3-game suspension when he comes back is going to be great. You still got Jamal Williams, Kendre Miller, who I like, who did tweak his knee. We don't know how serious that is, but I think he's got enough weapons in this offense to make some noise on this team and probably finish top 10. Going back to Michael Thomas, is he back? You know, yeah, we saw a small sample size of him, but he did play 100% of the snaps with the starters, or with the first team, I should say, because not all starters were there. Could we see New Orleans offense being top 5? We could. And not much to say about Kansas City, but why was Richie James looking like he was the best wide receiver on that team, honestly? Richie James was balling. It is preseason. He did play with the starters and got the touchdown, so I don't know if I'm going to keep my eye on him, but we got to see what this wide receiving core is going to look like, honestly, because we have injuries. We don't know if Sky Moore is going to be that guy out of the slot. We don't know what's going on with MVS, which I think he's just trash and they need to let him go. Next game, we've got San Francisco versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Score was 7-34 in favor of Vegas. I think it's time for San Francisco to move on from Trey Lance because he looked trash. He looked like straight up trash. He finished 10 of 15 in completions, 112 yards, and a touchdown. Mind you, that touchdown came off of a deflection from a defender, and the ball went the completely wrong direction into the hands of the tight end, Dwelly. Like, that was just pure luck. That ball should have been picked. Trey Lance was holding on the ball too long, was getting sacked. I think he got sacked 4 times. I don't know what he was doing, and I'm hearing talks that he may not leave. San Francisco's probably still going to keep him. I don't know why. I mean, granted, we don't know when Brock Purdy's going to get back. I know he's practicing now, but is he going to be 100% by week 1? We never know. But Trey Lance, I'm totally off him, and I was considering him as a deep sleeper for quarterbacks, maybe my quarterback 3 in leagues. Not anymore. On Vegas side of things, who the fuck is Aiden O'Connell? What? This guy I thought it was Derek Carr, honestly. He's wearing number 4. I'm like, who is this? I thought Carr went to the New Orleans Saints, and nope, it's O'Connell. He looked phenomenal out there. He finished 5 of 18 in completions, 141 yards, and a touchdown. I think he's got great potential, honestly, and that boy can sling the rock. And we still haven't really heard of anything coming from Josh Jacobs' point and his status. But Zamir White was showing a lot of promise and some upside, honestly. He had 13 rushes for 43 yards and a touchdown. So if Josh Jacobs isn't going to be there, Zamir White will be that RB1 there. And do we dare spend any draft capital on him? If we do, it'd probably be more than reasonable because he'd probably go in late rounds, somewhere after the 12th, 13th round. Is there a problem drafting him then? I don't know. And to be honest, if I did draft Josh Jacobs, I'm definitely handcuffing Zamir White to him, just in case, for a little bit of an insurance policy there. Our next game, we got Denver versus Arizona. Score was 17-18 in favor of Arizona. Russell Wilson actually played 4 drives, so I guess Sean Payton really wants to see what this team can do. He wants to see him early and see what needs to get fixed on that team, which is a whole lot. He didn't look bad, but he didn't look good either. Russell Wilson finished 7 of 13 incompletions, 93 yards, and a touchdown. So it wasn't a bad game once again. But what I saw was Denver's O-line needs some work. He was rushed way too many times and got sacked once. Should have been twice, but that O-line definitely needs to see work. Now going to the wide receiver part of this thing, even though Jerry Jeudy had more yards and a touchdown over Courtland Sutton was targeted more. Courtland Sutton had 5 targets versus Jeudy's 3 targets. Jeudy finished the game with those 3 targets, 2 catches, 40 yards, and a touchdown, while Sutton finished the game 5 targets, 3 catches, and 35 yards. I've been kind of waiting for Sutton to break out for the past 3 years. I've drafted him at least once, at least in one of my leagues these past 3 years, and it hasn't happened. Maybe this year can happen, but I think it's a little too late for me to believe in him. Now for Denver's backfield, we had Samaje Perine play 100% of the snaps with the starters. He's the clear number 1 behind Javonte Williams if he doesn't come back 100%. And Samaje Perine actually looked good. We already know he's heavy in the receiving game, so if they have to mix it up there in Denver, why not? And for Arizona, I don't know what's going on there. Their wide receiver depth is a mystery. You don't know who's 1, who's 2, who's 3, who's 4. You would automatically assume it's Hollywood, who didn't suit up. I know he had some off-field issues, or maybe they just didn't play him at all, which I'm pretty sure they just didn't want to play him. But Rondale Moore saw a lot of his snaps in the slot. That doesn't sound too good for me. A lot of people were high on him, but one guy that I'm actually high on in this offense is Michael Wilson, the rookie. He's good enough to be the wide receiver 2 behind Hollywood and beat Rondale Moore out. So maybe keep an eye on that thing, but I'm not, because Arizona's offense, I'm not touching. And for our last game that we're taking a take on is the Cleveland versus Washington game. The game finished 15-17 in favor of Washington. Honestly, in this game, I was kind of upset we didn't see Jerome Ford. I would have loved to see how he moved or how well he might have fit with this offense and their line. But Deshaun Watson is all in this year. He was poised and showed he could still move out of the pocket. He had 3 rushes for 28 yards. I'm high on Watson this year. I think in my rankings, I probably have him as the QB 8 or 9. I'm definitely going to try to get a share of him, especially in my QB Superflex League. And my few takeaways from Washington, I see huge upside for Jahan Dotson. All right, his ADP is the wide receiver 35 coming off the board. I feel like that's a great value right there, and he could maybe beat out Terry McLaurin, maybe. And Sam Howell looked great too. So the fact that Dotson played 100% of the snaps with Sam Howell and the starters and got a touchdown leads me to believe that this guy might be him. Talking about his quarterback, Sam Howell, I think he's well worth his ADP as well. Some leagues, he's not even being drafted. He played 3 drives. He finished 9 of 12 in completions, 77 yards, and a touchdown. He's definitely going to be my QB3 in Superflex leagues. And last but not least, Antonio Gibson. He's the clear RB for the passing down work. He had 3 targets versus Brian Robinson's 1 target in the passing game. So how they're probably going to play this is Brian Robinson gets the early down work, Gibson in for the 3rd down. If they have passing downs, they're going to throw Gibson in there. So Gibson may not be as bad as we think this season. And there you have it for all my takes of week 1 preseason. I hope you liked it. For you guys that enjoyed this whole content, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Definitely hit the notifications to see more videos like this. But other than that, I'm your boy Frankie J. This is the Fantasy Blitz Show, and we out. Peace.